Fellow tennis nerds, I hope you're well. Today I'm joined by an ATP Pro top 100 player, Alexander Ritschard from Switzerland, coming back from injury at the moment, working hard on returning to the tour. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his career. He had an amazing 2024 season before he got injured. So let's get into it. How are you today, Alexander?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How
So
are you?
I- I'm good. I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. I have another Swiss tennis player in the background of my, where I am, and how important has he been for like Swiss tennis? Or did he have play a role in your like choosing tennis or anything like that?
I mean, it's an easy question. I mean, he's a legend right here in Switzerland. It's not just in Switzerland. I mean, globally, he's one of the best tennis players in the world in history as well. So, I mean, you can't really, talk about tennis without talking about Roger Federer. But growing up, he was always just an idol. Obviously, I think any Swiss player that was coming up when he was at his peak was like, I want to play against him. I want to be like him. And I mean, yeah, just a huge, huge idol for also me personally, but also probably every junior up and coming tennis player in the world.
Yeah, I'm sure. And Swiss tennis seems to be doing pretty good. Like you have some Henry Bernier, you have some upcoming incoming players for
Yeah.
sure. I need to mention. But you did a really amazing season last year, right? Like you won three challengers, if I'm not mistaken. And how was that year for you? Like that's you come from college tennis background, and then you kind of like a breakthrough a little bit, I would call it. But
Yeah.
can you explain like how what happened last year?
Um, yeah, I mean, last year is just an accumulation of, many years of training, many years of kind of figuring out how I think, how the mind works, and kind of just figuring out how my game works. I came to kind of all of these realizations quite late in my career. I want to say around 27. Around that time is when I kind of started to understand tennis, which is looking back so strange to me because I've been playing tennis my whole life, since I'm 5 years old, and I just, yeah, I just kind of had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of going through the motions, but then around 27, I kind of started picking it up. I started to practice properly. I started to develop my game more. I started to look into the mental side of things more, look more into the health side of things, just kind of, really going a bit more under the microscope, a bit more in depth. And, now obviously looking back, I'm like, oh my God, why did I not, do this kind of stuff earlier? Like when I was 16, 17, I would be, somewhere completely different. But I'm happy that I at least kind of figured it out later than never. But yeah, no, talking about last year. Last year was, like I said, kind of an accumulation of a lot of, the last 2, 3 years of me figuring things out. Um, I became more comfortable with who I am as a person, how I play on the court, what my game is, how I think, the things that bother me, the things that don't. What routines do I follow to, feel good on the court. And maybe also got a little bit lucky here and there. I don't want to say, it's all 100% me. Of course, it's, you need a little bit of luck in anything you do. So, sometimes with a draw, maybe here or there, or, maybe I woke up that day and I've just felt the ball perfect. Um, but yeah, just a lot of things came together for me last year. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you do mention like maturing, which I think is a key part of the process. Like because I think a lot of players, and it's easy to kind of knock yourself. Like I should have figured this out earlier. But tennis is a very
Mhm.
like fast moving sport. You're always playing
Yeah.
tournaments. The year is long. There's a very little off season to figure things out. You just on like this kind of hamster wheel of being a professional tennis player or an aspiring tennis player. So I think that's a lot of people going through that and maybe maturing a bit later than they'd hoped. But better late than never, right? And you can have a longer career as long as you keep your body intact and you do the physical work, right? And I think on the ATP Tour feature, you talked a bit about like the nutrition, like you changed a bit of the nutrition plan. Were there some specific changes you did, or just like more holistically, like changing, being more healthy overall?
I kind of, I have a bit of in that sense an interesting body. Maybe it's just my body type. I'm very slim. I'm kind of a slim frame, and I can eat and eat and eat, and I don't really, gain weight, and I struggle to, maintain or gain weight, and the that also has, and I've also struggled with cramping. I've had a lot of over the years. I've had a lot of like cramping issues, and I was like, Jesus, where is this coming from? And it just kind of I realized when I went more in depth with it that my body was just missing a lot more carbohydrates than I thought. Which in a way now is, not surprising, but back then I was like, oh, I thought I'm eating a ton, but it was more during the matches refueling my body because, with the stress in a match with the stress and all these other things that come into play that you can't simulate in practice, your body, burns more things of whatever your body is susceptible to. So for me, it was a lot of carbs, it was a lot of salt. So I just really focused on eating more throughout the day, eating um, close to my matches, specific meals that help me feel good and ready. And then also during the match, make sure I eat enough and drink enough and have enough of the right stuff so that I feel energized till the end, basically. But if in that sense, I didn't change, like, I don't want to make it sound like, oh my God, I changed it like Djokovic and I'm very like dedicated. I still eat like I normally do, but just, I cut out some things and I just basically maximized some other things and it's been working for me because I feel really good, really good. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think there are many factors that make a tennis player, and sometimes we get lost maybe in like, okay, it's all about how I hit the ball and power and your game plan and all that. But like nutrition, you mentioned, and understanding your body type and like how you burn. Like if you burn a lot of energy, then of course you need a lot of energy. And I think one thing you pointed out is very important is that you cannot replicate the stress of matches on a practice court. So that's like a key thing because people think, oh, but I'm feeling fine when I practice for 2 hours. But a match, you're like under some serious stress and nerves, especially if you're playing for prize money. So I think
Sure.
it's a different thing. And one thing you also noticed or mentioned when before was like the mental side. Like you've been doing some work on the mental game to get into that
Mhm.
kind of tournament winning state.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I haven't worked, I haven't worked with like a mental coach or anything like this, but um, I have in the past because, if sometimes I was forced to, sometimes I thought, okay, maybe I need to, look at this a little bit, but I never, and that, again, that's very, very personal. Everyone has to know this for themselves. It kind of goes with knowing yourself. For me, I just realized quite early that sitting in a room talking to a therapist or, doing these weird mental exercises and stuff, it wasn't for me. I always felt like, these people don't really care, and it's mainly just for them, a way for them to make money. And I also felt not just that. I mean, I know it's a legitimate profession and that it can help a lot of people if that's what you think you need. But for me, I just never fully bought into it. I think you really have to fully buy into things like that for it to work. Or maybe I'm also open, like maybe I haven't like met someone who can, who's really been like, oh wait, what he's saying or what this person is saying makes sense. But for me, it was more a road of self-discovery. I started reading a lot of books starting at 27. I used to hate reading. I never read a book in my life. And then at 27, I was like, I need to do something because I cannot perform like this. I mean, this is useless. And so I just started reading a ton of self-help books, a lot of biographies, a lot of, like I said, self-help books, and yeah, also some started now recently started to read some nutrition books and stuff like this. But basically, reading just really helped me figure out kind of what I was going through and realizing, oh, people also have similar issues in different fields in life, and it was just interesting for me to kind of discover this, and so yeah, it's become part of my routine.
That's amazing. Do you have any recommendations for self-help books or things that help for you to perform better? Or maybe you don't want to give it away to your opposition.
I mean, they're not secret books. I mean, everyone, they're the ones everyone knows, I think, in that department. But the one I just kind of started now is The Inner Game of Tennis. I think
It's a
this is
good
a
one.
popular one. A lot of people know this one.
Yeah,
So I just kind of started that one, and then I read a little bit of Flow, that book from a little bit of that. That was pretty good. And yeah, so right now I'm with that one, and then when I'm finished, I'll find something else. Yeah.
that's great. I think reading also helps a lot to kind of. I mean, it makes you think more like internally as well, what your process is, and I think a lot of people don't read these days. Like that's an issue. You're always looking at the Instagram and or YouTube, but it can't really maybe do everything that reading a book does because it gives you more time to actually think about what you're reading. So it's more you're more in the moment. So I think that's excellent advice, and those are good books. I've read them as well, and it's something you can really work on. Do you do any journaling? Like, do you write down, like, analyze your matches with in a book or like on a computer?
Yeah, I mean, I started that too. When I was like 27, 28, I started to kind of just write down my thoughts and how I'm feeling during matches. Uh, yeah, I just realized that keeping all these things just locked up in my head is not good. So I found ways to just let it out in a sense and just kind of have a picture of what's going on in my head. And funny enough, it's to me, it's not as scary as it is in my head when I see it in front of me. So yeah, I do a ton of that. I do it um, pretty regularly. It's also kind of part of my routine, and um, I just use it to stay organized. I write down my practice plans and what I need to work on, and just sometimes how the day went, stuff like that. Taking notes. That's it.
Cool. So now you've been injured for a while, and that must have been very frustrating. How have you dealt with that? Like, what's been the situation with you having to spend so many months like not playing tournaments?
Yeah, it was long. This one's been really long. I mean, I got a bit unlucky. I had like uh, like it was something rare I have in my shoulder. I had like a muscle tear in my tricep area back
Mhm.
here, and then that the muscles around that area started to compress on like a nerve. And so every time I was hitting a ball or serving it or doing a pull up or something in the gym, it was just every time just thoughts of pain, and I was like, fuck, I can't, I can't really can't really do anything here. So and it started early. I got it in February, like the first week, just like the week before Davis Cup, I was supposed to play, and then I got this thing during practice. I just hit a serve, and it was just like, oof, this is bad. Um, looking back, I mean, I most likely I was probably overtraining. I had some signals that were telling me, hey, like take a rest. I had just played in Portugal for 3 weeks, or yeah, I think it was 3 weeks, and had like some tough matches, and was practicing a lot, and didn't really take a break because I felt very energized and motivated because I'm like close to at that point. I think I dropped out of the top 100. I was like 120, 115, something like that, but have nothing to defend until around this time. So I was like, okay, I can use this to kind of establish myself maybe within 80 or 90, and then kind of move forward from there, and just got a bit over motivated, and then boom, I overdid it, and that was it. And it was a bit of a rare thing. It was a bit of an unlucky location, and it's kept me out for, yeah, about 6 months now. Yeah, I mean, I tried to kind of play here and there to kind of see if it gets better with playing, and it didn't really, it kind of just got worse. So that was annoying. Yeah.
It's interesting that part because, like, I think the ranking system of tennis is devised by the devil sometimes. Like, it's just like it stresses you to overplay because, like, you need the points, and I have points dropping. I need to get into, especially if you're like in that hovering around like the Grand Slam quali or not. If you're in directly entry or not, that's one of those key positions in the rankings. And is that something you have to think about a lot, like as a player, like the stress of the ranking of getting points all the time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was a big thing at the start of the year. I mean, that was the main reason why I did not go to Australia in the first place, because I skipped Australia to go play the three tournaments in Portugal. And, I didn't do bad. I quartered twice and then lost to Alexander Blocks in the third one in three sets, and he won the tournament. So it's not like, I started the year off terribly, but I did put a lot of pressure on myself pulling a move like that because, I was like, if I win one, I'm there. Now I have, we're here for French Open main. So I was definitely putting a lot of pressure on myself in those 3 weeks, and it didn't it messed with my head big time. I mean, I was just kind of points hunting and getting really frustrated when things weren't going my way, and yeah, just kind of spiraled a little bit there. I kind of uh, looking back now for no reason, but I at that time I was like, I need to win one of these. I have to like get through here, or if I don't win one here, I need to do good in the next tournaments or something. So I did put a lot of pressure on myself because like you said, around this time I have a lot to defend, and so if you don't take your chances when you can, I feel like you just gotta keep going and try again until you get to that point again. But the same way it can take long. It can also go quite quick. If you play really good in a bigger tournament, then you know obviously you jump further up in the rankings faster. But it's never that simple.
No, it's a complicated part of being a pro because you're always having to consider the rankings and the points, and and also like that affects your travel schedule a lot. And like you need to be ready to, hey, I need to go there now, play this, or now I have to go there, and yeah, where can I get in with the ranking and so on. Like how much of headache is like the traveling planning? Like, do you do all this yourself, or you have someone helping you out with all this planning, where to play, when to play what?
I do it myself. I look at it this way. It kind of comes with knowing myself. I give myself a set amount of tournaments to play within a set amount of set time window, and either I do well or I don't. But regardless if I do well or if I don't do well, I then take the time to kind of recalibrate and train. I'm not one of those guys that can play 10 weeks in a row or 7 weeks or even five. I mean, for me, I'm a 3 week guy at best, and then I need 2 weeks off, or I'm gonna go crazy. So I and I know this about myself, and I accept it, and I need to schedule myself in a way that I know I'm the most motivated and the most ready to play. And for me, it's that way. So I just pick, you know, like you said, with the rankings, sometimes it's a bit difficult to schedule unless you're like really within the top 100, top 50, where you just have those set ATP schedules. You know where you're going to get in for sure and where not. Um, but yeah, so you pick. I pick some, and sometimes that just comes with the territory. Sometimes I pick a tournament that's maybe not the right tournament. Maybe I would have gotten into a 250, but I'm playing a 75, or I would have, but I can't control that. I don't know who's going where at all times. I just know where I want to take a risk and where I don't, and that's it. So I kind of approach it that way.
Yeah, you have to be a bit analytical, and I think it's good to know yourself. Like you're saying, okay, how long can I keep my professional drive going? Like if it's 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever. But it's just good to know because then you're like, okay, my tank needs refueling, so I stop for 2 weeks, going back home or something, just to get
Yeah.
yourself back in space. How difficult is it for you to always be traveling around? Like, do you like it and not be home? Because that's one of the things that is part of the tennis playing life.
I I don't like traveling. I don't like flying. I don't like traveling. I'm really not into that kind of stuff. I just like playing tennis, and that's just part of the job. Everyone has a job, and everyone has a part of the job they don't like. For me, it's that. Um, it's nice for the first time. You kind of see the world. You understand different cultures a little bit, and you see what the world is like compared to where you're from. But after that initial year or two, you're like, I'm at least for me, I'm like, okay, I don't really need to, you know, do this every year, but because I treat it as my job, and it comes with the territory. That's what you have to do. So that's what I do.
Yeah, it makes sense. So your background in tennis, your father is a tennis player. I'm correct, right? Or he
Yeah,
was a pro. Yeah. And you
yeah,
coached by him. Is he still a part of your coaching team, or you're doing something else?
yeah, yeah. No, he's coaching me. He's he got me started since I'm like 5, 6 years old. He played himself. I think he got to like 300, 400, something like this. He had a really bad motorcycle accident that kind of ended his career prematurely at a young age, so that was over for him. But yeah, like he coaches me now, and he has good insights. He understands the game quite well. For him, it's a study. He loves to analyze the sport and get to the nitty gritty of things.
Is it difficult to have your father, like a family member, so close family member, be a part of your like professional life, like a coach, or is that something that's been good for you? Do you think, or is it like also a complication sometimes?
No, I mean at times it's a big pain in the ass, and at times we butt heads, but it's gotten a lot better. It's more about understanding each other and kind of not stepping on each other's toes in that sense. Like if he's saying something, I try to listen and understand where he's coming from, but he also needs to understand and hear what I'm saying when I feel something, right? That maybe doesn't work well with what he's saying. So it's more just like not stepping on each other's toes and understanding. And I also think taking breaks at times, like he might come to a tournament or two, but then sometimes I go, with a friend or someone else. So yeah, but no, it's been good so far. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, yeah. There are all kinds of relationships, and sometimes it's a great thing, sometimes it's a difficult thing, and you just have to work it out. Like if you're both open to listening, it's easier.
It's
Of
easier.
course, you have to deal with it. And you, after like growing up and so on, you went to college for like the college tennis experience. Like, is that something you can recommend to other aspiring pros or people that are like wanting to be professional tennis players but not sure whether to go to college or not?
Yeah, especially now and with the NIL money for sure.
Yeah,
You
it's
can
a bit
really
different.
build yourself a nest and then go play, and I was lucky. I had a fun college experience. We had an insane team. We won 3 national championships. Every one of the guys on our team could have played one at any other school. So, we were really stacked, and I really enjoyed the college experience. It was so different than, always being on your own and playing these tournaments at a young age and being at the academies and stuff. It was very team oriented. It was, you really learn how much time you actually have in a day, because you're doing a lot of things all at once in college. And yeah, I feel like you just learn a lot also about yourself. You just learn a lot while in those scenarios, and I feel like you mature quite a bit there too if you're someone that's more childish, and not, doesn't have like a robot mind like Sinner at 15, so it's definitely, I mean, especially now with NIL money, now that you can make some money and all of that, and you get a free education. I mean, what's 4 years? Like you finish at 22, and then you can play another 15 years if you want. I mean, it's nothing. You have so much time. There's so much time. And then also if you play insane for the first year or two, and then within those summer breaks you go and you make it to like 150 or you win at 250, then you can also leave, so it's not like you're chained to stay there, but most of the time players just want to stay because it's so great. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like I mean, everyone I talk to who's been through the college experience, they recommend it because, like, also you have the camaraderie. You're playing a lot of good players, obviously, especially like D1
Yeah.
and the top schools. And if you want, you can move on to be a pro, like you said, early or after, or not at all. Like you can say, hey, I got an education. I don't want to do something else. That's also fine, right? So I think this is like the way to go for most people if you can do it. Do you think like tennis overall like needs more like team? Because a lot of players talk about like there's the missing a little bit of a team atmosphere. I mean, Davis Cup is one thing, Laver Cup is another thing, but that's not much of the calendar. So would you think like there would be more team events overall? And I'm not talking doubles. I mean like more like a team structure.
Um, I'm a bit, I'm not sure what to say because it sounds like a lot of fun, but I wouldn't know how to properly do it. You'd have to kind of change the whole format of the game, you know. I think either you do tennis in a, you know, you do seasons and you make teams and you make it kind of similar to college, and you know, this is the season of Australia. It's on the hard court, outdoor hard court. You have these teams, you know, you have different leagues of teams, you know, I don't know, League A, B, C, kind of like in soccer, you have like the many different leagues. Um, you know, I don't know how it looks financially if that's would give players a better financial opportunity. You know, maybe I'm not playing like maybe like in soccer I'm not playing, but I get, you know, 200,000 a month, sorry. That would be unbelievable. A year. You know, so and then, you know, you can maybe approach it that way. But I don't really like the whole like, okay, we'll do some singles and then we'll do some team, and you know, the team thing, it only works currently, and I mean, I understand it because they're the guys that are selling the tickets, you know, like Laver Cup, for example. You get all the big names, you put like these two teams, you know, they just go out there, they have fun, they make a ton of money, and that's it. But and then Davis Cup, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, it's always an honor to play for your country, but I don't think it's as popular as it used to be. I don't think people care as much as they used to, and I don't really know what they could do to make it better or improve it. You know, that's in that sense, I'm just a tennis player. I don't know how it works behind the scenes. I don't know how they could make it more interesting. But I'm also, you know, someone who's more like A or B. So either you do all teams and it's always teams, and you do these seasons like in basketball or football or whatever, or you just keep it how it is and you do singles, and like you said, you just do a Laver Cup, an exhibition just for the big names to have some fun and make a lot of money.
Yeah, there's no like real answers as of yet, but I always been toying with the idea of like a Champions League for tennis, or like how a team structure could change. But
Mhm.
I agree with you. Like you probably have to then go all in, and it would be a huge change, right? Like changing the
Yeah.
tour. And the interest in tennis seems to be good. Like overall, like I feel like the interest in tennis is as high as it's ever been. Pretty much when you travel around to tournaments, like this, they sell out. As all the slams obviously sold out. But what's your feeling there? Like is tennis doing well, or is it like when you're traveling to tournaments, there's no crowds, or what's your feeling in general, like tennis as a sport?
I think it's doing well. I mean, I, you know, some places the crowds are more plenty than other places, and you know, obviously the big tournaments are always, you know, doing well in that sense. I'm just guessing based on what I'm seeing. I don't know the numbers. Um, I did think though Madrid, the 1000 was kind of suffering in that department. I don't know if, you know, people just because the tickets were so expensive from what I heard, and just I don't know if people that just bought them and didn't go or didn't buy it at all. It felt like the qualies there was more packed than the main draw matches, which I found quite strange. But I think for qualies, I'm not sure if it's free for qualies or if they just pay like a day pass or something. I have no idea. But that's the only thing I saw. And now since I've been injured, honestly, I have no clue what's going on in the Challenger Tour. I have no clue. Like I don't check the tournaments in the Challenger. All I see is ATPs, and when I turn on the TV, that's all I see. So I have no idea how the challengers are doing. Like the lower level tournaments don't exist essentially. So unless you're a tennis fan and you actively go, you know, look for it, you go on the app, you go on the streams, you do all this stuff, and you go all around the places to find the qualifyings or the challengers or something like that. But you know, now, especially now that I've been injured, you don't see any of those guys. So I have no idea how anyone's been doing outside of the top 60, 70. You know. Um, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's probably not a good thing because I really do think the level all the way, almost all the way back to like 300 is really, really high. You know, but you know, obviously the consistency is different back there than in the front, but the level is not that far off. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing to, you know, to say or see, but yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that like I sometimes go to like I travel a lot around for some tournaments during the year, some of the slams, and then some of the ATPs. And like a 250 can have like the first day completely like dead. There's no people there, depending on the tournament. But then depends very much like on weather, on when it's scheduled, like if there's any local players, that's always bringing crowds. As you said, like I think they could do a better job maybe from the ATP side to market the challengers a bit, because I think people don't even know that you can stream challengers for free on the ATP Tour website. I feel it's just like hidden there. It's in the menu, but like many people don't know that challenger tennis is like that's just the same players just outside playing. Like you can see really really super tennis on challenger level, but there's no advertising for it. It's like, okay, it's the ATP, but well, challenger is amazing tennis. Like it's the same players. In many cases. So find that a bit fascinating.
And sometimes it's a bit crazier too emotionally. People kind of really lose it there a little bit more. Yeah.
On the challenger tour, yeah.
Yeah, you see some funny things for sure.
Yeah, you see some funny thing if you play like the seniors tour, like I do. People are funny in
Yeah,
tennis.
I bet.
It's very. Have you had any experiences where like nightmare opponents or something like that, or you've been pretty good with that stuff?
I I don't really have someone that uh I'm like scared to play or worried about playing. It comes with the territory. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I don't really care. I mean, and the one guy that comes to mind that I've lost to now 3 times in a row. So on the tour, in tennis, you say 3 times, and he's my dad. Is blocks. He beat me now 3 times. The last 3 times we played. So obviously, I do something that my game does something that his game likes, or I just maybe don't play certain moments the right way as I should. But we had 2 really close matches, and then one time he just kind of routined me. That's the only one that kind of comes to mind, but I don't I don't really worry too much about who I play. I just want to essentially win the tournament, and then that's it. It doesn't matter. You have to play someone, otherwise it's not a tournament.
Yeah, no, I meant more like I mean that's interesting as well. But there's always like matchup in tennis. Like, okay, my game suits this guy and doesn't work for that guy. But I meant more like if there's anyone that's like behaving like an asshole, on the court, or like being like it's a
Oh,
difficult person.
I mean, I'm not gonna call out anyone or
No, I know,
anything.
I know, it's
I
fine.
don't want to start any problems or anything, but no, there's definitely some guys that, you know, uh, again, tennis I think makes players crazy in general. Now that I've kind of been away from it and took a step back, I'm like, oof, like I don't think I'm one of the craziest guys out there, but like I can also see like I need to, I think a bit in a crazy way, but the sport just kind of makes you that way. Uh, it's a tough sport, man. But there's definitely guys that act like complete assholes on court, or freak out on court or whatever, and then outside of court they're totally normal and nice. But uh, it's just it's a brutal sport. You just kind of lose it. So I don't fault anyone for acting a certain way. Obviously if it gets personal and you start like arguing and fighting, it's a different story. But most of the time it's just players losing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the stress. It's like it's a constant stress. Like your body is in some like fight or flight mode the whole time. While playing a match, especially for you guys playing for prize money and ranking points. Like it's of course like it's the job, and your job is to beat the other guy. And yeah, it's not easy to be a good loser, or be like not angry with yourself if you make mistakes. It's like part of it. It's the issue of tennis. Do
Even
do
if
you
you
have it?
win, you make mistakes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like I think Federer said in his like college to Dartmouth, what was
Mhm.
and he said that like he won like 54% of his points in his career.
Yeah.
That shows tennis like it's you're winning a little bit more than half, you can be a legend, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
it's an interesting one. And so when it comes to your plans now, you're rehabbing, you're aiming to get back. We talked a little bit before. Hopefully, like to Gestad, that would be a home tournament to play in a way, like your home country. A
Hmm.
beautiful tournament. Never been there, but it looks amazing actually.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a really beautiful tournament up in the mountains, and yeah, just a really nice tournament. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm rehabbing, I'm training. building my strength in the shoulder area specifically, and so far it's been good. So yeah, that's the plan.
You're working with a specific physical trainer all the time that is helping you on track, or you're doing a lot of work yourself?
A little bit of both. I work with Justin Russ. He was my former like he used to be a fitness coach back at my university, and now he's working in Delray, I believe, in Florida. He has like his setup there and trains a lot of good players, and I'm just part of his program. He sends me the programs, I do them. I have some phone calls with him. I go over some of this stuff, and if I'm in town, I go see him and I train with him. But sometimes I also, do some things that I think I need or feel good that he doesn't necessarily see because he's on the other side of the ocean. And then at times, if I feel like I need guidance or if I'm being lazy or something like that, I go to the federation and I work with the fitness coach there, and he does a really good job too. So yeah, that's kind of how I approach it.
Do you feel like you get good support, like as a Swiss top tennis player? It's like it's a good federation now.
Yeah, I mean they do the best they can. They have uh, they're more focused on younger players and investing in younger players. When I switched from the US to Switzerland again, they supported me quite well. Um, with tournaments, it's sometimes, a little bit tricky, like you said, with Gstaad, Basel, those events, because most of the time those wildcards belong to the tournaments, and they treat it like a business, so they approach it that way, and that's how it is. There's not much you can do, but I think that's almost every tournament. I think in Madrid also they gave like one wildcard to one Spanish guy, and the qualies our main draw. It was kind of, I was like, whoa. So they treat it as a business, so the federation doesn't have much power there. But if you need to some place to train, if you need some help locally, they can help you. But uh, that's all they can do so far. At least for me, they that's all they can offer.
Yeah, we got in touch a while ago due to some racket testing situation. Like, so where are you with your with your racket and strings? Like, you're a head player, I know that,
Mhm.
but you've been experimenting a little bit with your setup.
Yeah, I mean the main thing was just the shoulder. My shoulder was hurting, so I was just playing around with a bunch of different rackets, and I was like going crazy a little bit. I was like, what can I, maybe it's the racket and my arm's hurting, but it was just, I felt like a combination of a lot of things. This injury wasn't something that happened randomly. This was something that, is in most part my fault. I overtrained for sure. I didn't listen to my body. And I was also playing with a setup that was very, intense on the arm, I feel like, because, I'm playing an 1820. I played the Gravity Pro. I played the 1820 pattern with full poly setup, and I mean, with the balls nowadays, I mean, after 5 minutes, those balls are as big as a balloon. And swinging full power on that thing for 2.5, 3 hours sometimes it's just, I don't care, who you are, that's just going to hurt your arm. There's no changing that. Despite regardless of the fact that I played really, really well with that setup last year, I just realized that, if I want to play another 5, 6 years, if I want to, even if I just want to take my game kind of to another level, I need to do some equipment changes because I just felt like, my game naturally is very fast. I have a very fast pace, but, you know, with that setup, I just felt like after a while it was just, not doing anything, no matter how hard I swing the ball, and and I wasn't able to produce too much spin on it, especially on like faster surfaces. Getting spin on the ball was very difficult, and the serve was okay, but it never. I felt like never really, went where I wanted to go, and never really, you know, had the impact I wanted from my serve. So I was looking for essentially just like a 16-19 pattern racket that wouldn't fly around on me. So I started just testing around, and the extreme was a little bit too extreme for me. That thing was just all over the place. I tried the 1620 gravity. That one was also too crazy. and then I started playing around with the Radical MP, and I was surprised that it was a 16-19 frame and the ball was not spraying on me. So I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we found something here. And so I started to kind of experiment with it and train with it now. And I'm quite happy with it actually, to be honest. Yeah, it's giving me what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's a great frame, and I think you're not alone. Like the gravity is a good stick. Obviously, the plow through is very nice. The stability is obviously excellent with that racket, but it's heavy to move around with that the head shape and the weight and balance. It's set. It has to be at this 20 millimeter beam. You know, it's like you have to have a heavy stick then to get any pop. You know, and that's why we've seen like Zverev, Safiullin, a few players, they going to the Gravity Tour. They're trying to get a little bit thicker beam, you know, so at least
Yeah,
a bit more pop. But I think the Radical makes a lot of sense. You know, you see a lot of Italians on
yeah,
tour have a good success with different Radicals, so it's a
yeah.
good stick for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I essentially just kind of looked at the top players I saw. I thought to myself, which head racket, because I'm sponsored by Head, which head racket do I see the most? And it's somewhere between the Speed and the Radical, you know. Like you said, the Italians, I mean, I almost think every Italian player plays that stick, that Radical, and they kind of have a similar games. Most of them have a similar game style to what I like to play. So I was like, so maybe there's something there. Maybe they know something I don't. Um, with the Gravity, I just like you said, it's a really good feeling racket. You know, big sweet spot. You know, like you can play very precise, good feeling. Um, but I just felt like you were just stuck playing one way. It was just like when I look and the two guys I see using it is, or the three guys, Safiullin, Zverev, and what's his name, Rublev.
Rublev, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those guys play incredible. Don't get me wrong. I mean, these guys know what they're doing, but I just don't see any big variety. I just see the same shot, the same ball, super precise, super good, you know, depth and everything, but it's the same thing over and over again. And I feel like out of those three, I see Rublev struggling a bit more with it now because it's like, you know, they're figuring it out. It's like, okay, it's the same thing over and over again. And I think it works better for Zverev because I think that racket was more designed for his game. You know, he has the guts. He can also play with it with the gut string. I tried putting gut into my 1820. I mean, that didn't work at all. But, you know, for him, that maybe gives him that extra pace that he needs because he doesn't miss a ball. So that's maybe why it works for him. But yeah, I just kind of looked at what other head rackets do the top guys play, and it was between the Speed and the Radical, and I shifted more towards the Radical because I was able to swing through and not miss. So
Yeah, and that's the most important thing. Is like feeling like that the racket becomes kind of an extension of the arm, but you're feeling like you can be fast enough, like especially these days. And you did point out like the balls, something we've all noticed, I think, is like that the tennis balls they don't last long overall. Like I mean, there might be some differences between the brands, but overall, it's not been like a good feeling that you play like 30 minutes and the ball is gone. You know.
it's crazy. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
So you're playing now. Is it Lynx Tour? Do you play you're using, or you're experimenting still with the strings?
I'm currently, I mean, right now, just through this week and next week, I'm kind of staying with gut. I'm playing with a little bit of gut and Link's Tour just to kind of make sure my arm doesn't get like, you know, inflamed immediately again coming back. So I'm just kind of being precautious. But I usually do the Link's Tour and the Hawk Touch setup, you know, good grip, good feel. And now with the 16-19, you know, better pace. So for me, that's a good setup for now. Yeah, that's usually what I do. But I'm always open. I always kind of look for, you know, things that can help my game. And if I find something that helps it a bit more, then I use it. But for now, I'm just doing the Links Tour in the gut for the arm.
Yeah, I think Lynx Tour Hawk Touch. I mean, the Musetti setup, whatever you want to call it, but it's a good combo. I tried the one you strung up as well, or you had strung up, and it was nice. That gives it a little bit softer feel, but it's still like a poly, right? Like it doesn't, because
Yeah.
like you said, you know, I work with some players like top 10 pros even, and they can't play with gut, you know. They some love it, you know, the old school guys usually they love gut, but some of the newer gen they cannot play with gut. It just feels strange to them or doesn't give them that bite. They feel like the ball is going a little bit too much maybe.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I mean, it's definitely a really different feeling. I mean, for me, it was like, wow, this feels really nice on the arm. This feels really like you have a great feeling, you have a great touch. For sure, the ball flies more. I mean, there's no doubt. But um, I think it's just something if you want to make that change, you need to have time. Like I have time now, but and you just dedicate to it and you just trust that what you get out of it is going to pay off long term because tennis is a long term thing. But uh, it's difficult to commit to something that's not working immediately if you're healthy and you're playing every week and you're used to a certain setup for years and then you suddenly play something that's so different and it doesn't work. Obviously, it's not going to work immediately, and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible, right? And I think that straight, I think gut in general is a very, it's a great string. It's just you need some adjustment time if you've always played like with poly.
100%. And then you've seen like interesting now if you follow the tour, like you there are a lot of changes happening. Not maybe loads, but still like you see like Bublik, he went out and bought like some pure arrows and painted them himself, and then he suddenly plays the best tennis of his life. Not saying that's the racket, but sometimes it's a mental thing. Like you're like, okay, this is the racket that Carlitos uses, so whatever, I'm gonna try it, and then we see what happens. It seems like the people on tour are a bit more open to like, okay, I have to do something with the gear. But before it was more like, okay, I stick with this for life. This is my setup, right?
Mhm. Like I said, everyone has to kind of know that themselves. To be fair, I was going crazy too. I also tried the pure arrow in my time off and playing painted it black for like one tournament, and just because I thought it wouldn't hurt my arm so much. I got in a bit of trouble with head, but we solved it. Everything's okay. But it depends, like the thing with tennis is it's like I feel, at least I can only speak for myself, but it feels like for me when I go to an event, I'm someone who likes to be in control. So if I go and I play a match, I want to feel the ball a certain way. I want the ball to go off my racket a certain way. I want to just feel a certain way. And the thing with tennis is that it's just chaos. The Pro Tour is chaos. It's just chaos because, and I'm not saying in a sense that like everyone's crazy. I'm saying like you go and play maybe a week really amazing because everything lines up. The racket feels great, the sun is shining perfectly, the court is exactly bouncing how you want it to. There's no wind, everything's great, and you maybe win the tournament. And then the expectation for you is to go out next week and feel that exact same way with the exact same conditions and everything. And the scary part now is the depth because like I said, the level from a guy that's like 60, 70 is not so far off from a guy that's like 250, 300 almost, other than obviously the 60, 70 guy is going to play a certain level throughout the whole year where he's a guy that's 300 probably can't hold it. But the depth is scary. So even if you win that tournament, the next week you got to play the first round, and you're going to play a guy that's hungry, that knows how to hit the ball, and you can't expect to just go out there and cruise, right? And on top of that, the conditions are different, the racket's going to feel different, the wind is different, the everything is different, and it's just that you just feel like you went from something you had good control over to something now is like everything's chaos. Now it's like what's happening? And as a player, it's like, the ego is a big thing. It's like, okay, I'm so good. I train so much. I do so much, and I'm professional. I just won a tournament. Like it cannot be me. Like it cannot be me. It cannot be my mindset. It has to be the strings. It has to be the racket. It has to be my shoes. It has to be something because it's definitely not me. I am who I am. And and just the reality I think of it all is, and that's how I think a lot of players go crazy. Same as me, I go bananas. I used to go bananas. I would be like, I need to change the tension, I need to change the string, I need to change the racket, test it out. And what that does is it just, I feel like confuses you more because then you do the change, it feels good for 1 week, and then you're still not winning the way you thought you were supposed to win with this new racket. So now what do you do? Now you go back to your old racket. Now you're not winning with your old racket either again. Like you're just confusing yourself, I feel like, because this sport is chaos and the depth is so good. Everyone's really good, and you have to It's not it's not a Roger Djokovic Nadal era where those guys are just winning every single week, everything. It's more open. It's just how it is. And sometimes you're just going to lose to someone you didn't expect to lose to, and it has nothing to do with the gear. It's just, today the guy played good. You were maybe mentally not tough enough, or tired, or the ball didn't feel as good. It's most of the time, I think, not doesn't have so much to do with the racket and stuff. I mean, if I'm being honest, if it's the racket and the string maybe contribute 8 to 10% of your full game, and the other 90% is your fitness, your mental, your technique, your shots, what you practice. If you really want to make a change, then maybe change at the end of the year, or if it's something where you put it in your hand and within the first 5 minutes you just know, oh, this is it, then, but then stick with it, and get good with it and tweak it. I That's just kind of my take on it now after having kind of this time away.
Yeah, and you've gone through the craziness. Like, I think, I mean, I talk about that a lot, but like the jungle, like if you get into the customizing, the changing strings, changing layups on the racket, changing the complete mold, the racket completely, like you add just so many different variables that can go wrong in your head, right? So like you can be like, okay, my footwork wasn't on, and then okay, my foot today I was tired, I didn't sleep properly, I did something, I was not fresh, right? Or my opponent's game was just too good, or just very annoying. I don't like these guys that play like this, and but then if you add the racket to that combination, you always have that excuse, right? Like, so you don't, maybe you lose a bit of objectivity because you're like, if I had a bit more power, I would have beaten this guy. Like that's it, but it's maybe not, because it's on the day, right? Like tennis
Yeah,
happens one day, the next day it's a new thing, like a new match, new tournament, new things happening, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I've come to realize. I mean, like I said, it depends. I kind of ask myself the question now: why am I changing? What's the reason? Is it to help my game, or is it just to change to change? It's tough, because especially those guys at the top, when they have a lot of pressure. All eyes are on them. They always have these expectations. They need to win every week. And then they, show up and they lose to someone they think they shouldn't lose to, and they feel great playing maybe, but maybe, the conditions are different, or the other guy just had an on day or something. And it's just easier to, blame the coach, blame the racket, the strings, the shoes, and everything else because, I just won a tournament last week, so what's going on, But yeah, it's just a lot of, it's just that feeling of control. I feel like just this sport has no, when you do it professionally, there's no control. You control the things you can, and then when you show up, you have to deal with the adversity that is inevitably going to happen every day you go out for the match. Um, if you're just doing it recreationally at home, you can structure your training, you can, play with a lot of different rackets, you can see it's a different thing, you have structure, but and the courts, you're playing on the same club the whole year, so like how the ball goes and bounces with the same balls. But tennis is just different balls, different, conditions, and just good players, man. You just have to go through the gauntlet every week. Yeah.
Do you use that kind of as like a mental challenge for yourself? Because it seems like you have a very good mindset around that, like being aware of that. Like, I mean, tennis is not getting easier, as I said. I also feel like the level has increased, like especially like the whole top like 500 seems like even more difficult than ever before. Like it's just getting more and more difficult. Everybody's very, very good. Everybody's very, very hungry. So it is like a slugfest. You have to be mentally like a titan to be like out there every week, and hopefully you can put together some results, in a period. But then you never know if like, okay, that was the period, and like I have 2-3 months bad, and then we see again if I can go up.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the depth is pretty crazy nowadays. It is a slugfest. I mean, you have to fight for every match, but I feel like, the perspective isn't, there's a different way to look at this, because kind of like we said, you win a little bit more than half the points, you're a legend. It's the same here. Like the problem is, like, most of the time is the ego. You think you're something, and you think you're supposed to win, and you think you're better than this guy, and you should feel confident that you can beat anyone, but you shouldn't feel like it's your right to to I deserve this, like you still have to beat Joe Schmo on the other side, and I feel like a lot of times the ego gets in the way, and then you get depressed, and then you don't understand what's going on, and it's just very easy to get lost, when the reality is, if you have 5 good weeks in the year, you're top 150, and if you have 5 good weeks at a higher level tournaments, you're top 100, and then it just keeps going from there, and the money you make in those ranking ranges is slowly becoming decent. So that the perspective is a little bit off. Like you're not, and also like defining yourself by the ranking. Like I don't give a shit if you're number one in the world or if you're number 1,000. The ranking doesn't determine for me who you are as a person. You could be a legend. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. That's just how I see things. It's not how you contribute on the tennis court is who you are. I judge people based on interactions, and how they are with me and how they are with other people. So it's very easy to kind of, you know, judge yourself based on a number. How stupid is that, honestly? But those are just some things I feel like a lot of players maybe don't understand, or they do understand and don't care. But the perspective is just, you go out, you try your best. You might lose to someone you didn't think you'd lose to. Okay, who cares? I mean, honestly, no one cares. As long as you're losing, no one cares about you. And then you can win a tournament and suddenly you're the talk of the town. So it's like, that's also the sport. It's just, you might lose first round to a wild card, and then you go and you win the next week. And that last week is forgotten. No one cares about if you lost against the wild card. No, you just won the tournament. So I think it's such a chaotic professional sport that it's easy to lose perspective very quickly, when you just kind of got to go. It sounds easy, but you just kind of got to go out there, give your best, and put the ego aside, and understand that you're not a number, and that you're you, and just give your best, and that's it. That's all you can do. And it's 5 weeks in the year you have to play good. That's it. you know Anything
Yeah.
else is a bonus.
That's a refreshing mindset. I think it's a great mindset to have, because it's tough to deal with losses in tennis, and the ego is always there. I think for everyone, even on like a club level, like the ego is there. You see a lot of people who like, oh, their whole identity is tied to, like, I was ranked 28 in the world, or like 140 in the world. And you're like, that's just like saying the same with money. You're like, okay, I'm a millionaire or not. Like, that doesn't define you as a person, right? So, but in tennis, it's a game because you need an ego and you need confidence. So you build that up over many years. Like, oh, I'm beating a lot of people. I'm a good junior. I'm then on the tour, whatever. And then maybe the ego gets too big, right? Like, there's a point of like, this maybe should have been cut down a little bit, where you have to kind of manage your ego all the time. It's a complicated balance.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, it's hard to tell someone to pull their ego down if they're winning everything, right? Because it's like, what do you mean? I'm winning everything. Don't tell me to pull my ego down. But uh, it's just, tennis is a narcissistic sport. You have to be selfish. You have to think for yourself. It's just how it is if you want to be good. And in a sense, that sucks, because it's like, you don't really. It's difficult to build lasting relationships like that if you're tuning yourself into be a narcissist for the next 15, 20 years on tour, because that's all you know, that's all you've been trained to know, and you're getting success from it, and all of this. So it's very difficult to be everybody's friend and at the same time win everything. It usually, I at least I haven't seen it work yet, on tour. But that's just how it is. Maybe, like you said, if we do a team setup, it's a different story, right? Because now we're a team. Now it's a different environment. But just how this environment is cultivated, they also just, the social media of the ATP, or any of the tennis bodies, they pump up the winner so much. Like, you see it in every post. They say, oh, at whoever won. They never mention the loser ever. So it's like, they put you so high up that it's very easy to think like, oh my God, I am the shit. I am this person, right? And you are, and you aren't. It's like, like, I was 99 in the world. I still go to my club and the ladies show up 5 minutes before the hour is over to kick me off the court, and they don't give a shit if I'm 99 or if I'm a great player or a bad player. They just, hey, we have the court, go wipe it down and get off our court, you know. And that's just life. That's the reality. And when you're finished with tennis, like no one's gonna think about you twice. You know what I mean? It's just so sometimes so out of perspective. Again, it's crazy, but that just comes with how the sport is structured. You need to be focused on yourself. You need to be delusionally confident in yourself, and you need to market. You need to go on the social on your platforms if you want brand deals and all this stuff. You need to like tell the world every day of the week when your stories or when you're posting of how great you are, because otherwise you don't get a following, right? Otherwise, you know, people love success, so they want to follow the guy that's or the girl that's like, you know, posting how great they are every day. So it's just how the beast is built, you know, and it can it comes down to being self-aware and understanding that.
Do you find it tough to manage like social media, or like you don't care or you don't stay away from it? Like, I mean, there's obviously annoying betting trolls like sending messages if you lose a match or something. That's always a thing for tennis players. And there's obviously that thing as well as like building your brand, or ATP tour. They're obviously very focused on like just 10 guys. It seems like most of 10 guys and 10 girls. That's all they advertise. But so how was your like take on social media been?
I mean, look, I hate it. For me, it's something I dislike. It's something I just try as best I can to use as a tool. You know, I'm an athlete. I don't want to act like an influencer. I don't want to, you know, I prefer to let my results do the talking and all this stuff. I don't like posting pictures of myself every day and stuff like that, but sometimes I feel like I have to, or like, you know, no one knows what's going on with you because there's so much, you know, so many matches and so many things going on the tour that, you know, how are you, if you don't do exceptionally well, how else are you going to stand out? How else are you going to make yourself marketable? How else are you going to make money in that sense? Because you're not getting crazy deals like the guys in the top 50 or that are on TV every week. So, okay, now I need to at least somehow build my following and stuff. But I, I just treat it as a tool now. I just go in there, I post a little bit and sometimes a picture, sometimes a video, sometimes a reel, but I don't spend more than like 5 minutes on it anymore. I don't go in there to look at other people's profiles or like a bunch of pictures or you know, one thing that always bothers me on tour is like the coaches and players, they always message me on Instagram through the message request, you know. First of all, they don't follow you, and then they message you through the request. I don't see my message requests ever. I don't look in there because, like you said, it's all those crazy bettors that are like upset that you lost or won. Even it doesn't matter. You no matter if you win or lose, they hate you. So at this point, I don't even pay attention to it. I don't see it. I don't care. It's their problem. They lost the money. I don't know. I hope they can retrieve it somehow. I don't really care. Um, but I don't see the training requests in my Instagram. Like I don't go on there enough. I don't see notifications. I have the notifications turned off. You know, if you want to, so if anyone's watching, if you want to practice, just, you know, get my number, shoot me a message on WhatsApp or ask the tournament or something. But I stay away from that stuff as much as possible. It's just garbage for the mind.
Yeah, it's a healthy approach. I would agree. I mean, my job is partly being on social media, but I'm the same like old school mentality that it's like it's kind of almost rotting your mind from. I mean, especially if you overuse it. You know, if you post and ghost, like I think is the healthy way of doing it, like players, then it's good. But if you're always getting into that stuff and you're scrolling for like hours and it's not great. And I also prefer messages via WhatsApp or emails, old school style, than to have Instagram requests, because that's a lot
Yeah,
of messages to deal with.
I don't check that stuff, and I hope I play good enough that one day someone can just do it for me, and then I just give them the account and I never look at it ever again.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I hope so too for you, man. I really enjoyed chatting with you. You're a smart guy. I can hear that. You have your head screwed on properly. So it's not now
Thank
about
you.
time to just go out and win some matches and get the shoulder going. I know it's frustrating when you've been injured, but there's it's just to come back and get going, right?
Yeah, for sure. Just one step at a time, and I'm just happy at this point to play again, and I'm looking forward to it. And Yeah, thanks for having me. No, this was a fun talk. It was nice to meet you, and kind of thank you for letting me test play the radical. For the people watching, if you didn't know, I got it from this guy. So yeah, but no, thank you, and looking forward to maybe seeing you in Spain sometime.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Anytime you're here, it will be nice to catch up in person. And
For
if I'm
sure.
at the tournament where you are, I'll come and say hi, watch your match.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Alexander.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.